Hey YouTube, welcome to my channel. This is my first tutorial where I'm actually talking. I thought I would share something that I learned using Unreal Engine 4, using the blueprint scripting. Um, I was trying to figure out how you could take the quick settings and adjust the scalability through like a key press during runtime as opposed to using it in the editor. So I'll show you how you can do that. So here, if you just press play, you can see the game running, and it's on the highest settings that I set. And I added some key presses like 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I hit the 1 key, hold on, we can get it moving. Okay, if I hit 1, it changes the graphics settings there. If I hit 2, it improves it a little more. 3, and then 4. Okay, and so I'll show you the blueprint that I created. If you're doing this, you're going to want to create a couple of blueprints. You're going to want a player controller, and you're going to want, let me take a look here. Player controller. Yeah, this looks a little overwhelming right now, but I'll go over that. A enum and a save blueprint. So I'll show you that right now. So this is, I'll just put controller. I'm not going to use this, but just so you know what you're adding on your end. If I go to miscellaneous and there's enumeration, you're going to want one of these files, and that would be like your graphics settings. I'll just put the graphics set, and you're going to need another blueprint. Sorry about that. The save game file. This one. Yeah. So if you have those 3, that's all you need to do this. Okay, so I'll go over what I actually did to create this. So with the save graphics, the only variable that was required was this enumeration that I created, which is here. So when you create your first enumeration, you'll just put new and type low, medium, and so on, high, epic, whatever your settings are. So I'm just going to close that. So that's what I did here. And under the save graphics blueprint, so when you open that, I created this. So basically it'll look like this. You just create a new variable, and the type you're going to do enum, and it should be listed here. And mine was named graphics set, or graphics S, for whatever reason why I did that. So that's what you would do there. And all this file is doing is storing whatever you change in your other blueprint, which will be here. So the default value is set to low. So every time we save this information, it's just going to change it here. So when the game loads, and the player will have the last settings that were saved from before. I'll go more in depth on that. Okay. So here we go. Let me just hit compile. So it takes some time getting all the information here, but once it's all done, I think it's worth it, and you're all set from there. So the way you can change settings in Unreal Engine Editor, you can do it via console command when you hit the tittle key, and you put just for example, like here, sg.resolution quality. There you can actually specify between, I believe, 1 and 100 what the quality is. I actually have the web page ready. This is how Unreal uses those settings. So for post-process, 0 is like the lowest, and you can actually see everything that's involved in setting post-process. Here's 1, 2, and 3, and then there's for shadows, textures, effects. So I'll make sure I leave a link for this at the bottom of the video. So what I did, I created a set of variables, strings for each quality setting. So resolution, I did 4, basically for my low, medium, high, and epic. And then I did a view distance, anti-aliasing, post-process, shadow, texture, effects. I'm working on window mode, but I haven't got that working yet. So as you can see, there's basically a setting for each that we set here: low, medium, high, and epic. So you might notice I switched some around here, the variables, but that's just based on the game I'm working at. Some artifacting was present and I just adjusted it for the game I'm using, but you can switch them around as you need. So here is each console command, and all these console commands represent each, like resolution, view distance, all of these here, and that's low, medium, high, and epic. And I just set those to fire when I press the 1 key, the 2 key, 3, and 4. Okay, so I made the string, and for resolution quality for this particular game, I just wanted all of them to have 100 across the board. So for resolution, I just plugged, basically you would just drag it and plug it in and it would go in. So if I just get rid of it, yes, okay. Oh, oops, I didn't mean to delete the variable. Okay. Whatever. Maybe I'll edit that, but you get the point. Okay, and then the next console command, and again, this is the actual console command, which will be listed here. That's what you want to put in there to actually change the setting. So there, 100, SG dot resolution quality space 100, space 75, 50, and then view distance, which is my second row of console commands. And for my game, the view distance isn't important at all. It's in space, so they don't really need to see into space for this game, really, because it's pretty much really no background. So this is the name of my variable here, and then the actual value of the variable is sg.view distance quality space 0, and then you would do the same for the higher setting, space 1, again space 2, and space 3, because it goes from 0 to 3. It's not 1 to 4. The same with anti-aliasing. It's right here on the third row. And you see I didn't really max out the aliasing on here. Once again, I just named the variable, and these are all strings, and sg.anti-aliasing quality space 0, space 1, space 2, and space 3. And the same for post-processing. You can see this. If you start to get the idea how this works, you can just kind of skip this video, but I'm kind of just going over everything. Shadow quality, there you go, sg.shadow quality space 0, space 1, space 2, and space 3. You can see where I just plugged those in. I kept the quality the same. This was one of those examples where if the shadow quality was at 0, the game looked completely different. So on the lowest qualities, I decided to keep 1 as the lowest quality, and then other qualities change, such as the effects here. Texture is sg.texture quality space 0, and there's the name, and it's space 1, the name space 2, the name in space 3, and lastly the effects. As you can see, sg.effects quality -1, -2, and -3. So once you get all of this set up, these 4 qualities, then you will just plug whatever you want to fire those settings. In this case, I was just testing, so I put 1, 2, 3, 4. Basically just right click and hit 1 for key event, and that's how I got whatever I want. You could put J or whatever you want it to be, some type of mouse click. Or so now I don't know if we're going to run out of time, but I want to show you how you can actually save this information, and that's using the enumeration. If this video cuts, I will just make a part 2 to it. Okay, so this portion here is checking to see if a save file exists, and if it doesn't, I'm basically telling the game to fire the lowest settings first, and then saving those settings. And then here, whatever the player chooses for their quality settings, it will create a save file based on that setting. And I'll go into depth a little more about that now. So first, at the beginning of the game, when they load it up, it's going to check. You want to, I'll kind of do this at the same time. I can't do the event one, but because you can only have one event begin play node, but I'll kind of do this at the same time. So you want to first get, does save game exist? And I just create a variable file name graphics. This file name is going to actually be what's on your computer stored under your wherever the save files go. So it'll actually read graphics settings here. And then I just gave the variable of a name called file name graphics. So then you would just drag that over, get, and I plug that there. So at the beginning of the game, like that, it's going to check, does this file exist? So the Unreal Engine is going to look for this file. If it doesn't exist, the next thing I want it to do is a branch, and it's going to basically say if it does not exist, what I did is I said fire this command. That's all I did. Does this game exist? Does this save exist? No. Then execute this low setting and save, which I'll get to. Okay. But if it does exist, I want to load the game from slot, which is the file name here. And you can just drag that over, and you can actually just put that, plug it in like that. Okay, and then also you have to create a save game object, which I'll show you how you can do that. You just hit variable. The type is save game, which is here. and then you would just name it whatever you want, and it won't have a default value. So once you create that, I just named it Save Graphics Subclass. There was another YouTube video. I'll provide the link. He went over how to do save game slots, and I learned a lot from him. And I went a little further to see if I could use it to create these type of additional settings. So you would just grab another one, grab the variable here and hit set, and you just plug these in, and then you're gonna get, and when we pull this string out, we're gonna cast to the, that was the one I made at the beginning, we're not using that one, to save graphics. Essentially that's this file, the saved game blueprint we created with the one variable that has the enumerations. Okay, and just plug that here, and next. So disregard these here, that's not relevant, that's the next tutorial. So now that we're casting to save graphics, we can actually get the information from here. So when we pull this string out here, if you put enum, I don't know, I think it's enum. Actually, I'm sorry, you have to set. Okay, sorry about that. So when you pull the string out here, you're going to type set graphics, and that's the little enum that we got here, and boom, and as you can see, we have all our settings here that we had. So this basically will create a save with this information, and I'll show you how that works. And then we want to get graphics S. Again, this is coming from here. All that information. Okay. And all I did was, since we're getting whatever the default is or whatever it gets saved to, I'm plugging back into here so it'll set that information. And what I did here, because I was trying to figure out how do you actually get this to fire when it's saved without the player actually have to go back and change their settings each time they open the game. And there's a node called switch. There's a switch node. Oh. Okay, so you want to find the one that applies to you. And so what this does, and we'll plug this get into here. So what this does, whatever the value is for this variable, which will get set when it's saved. So for example, if it's set to low, it's gonna fire here low. So this is basically taking the place of the player actually pressing 1 to change those settings. So this would go straight into here, and that will fire the low quality settings. Hope that makes sense. So what happens, it checks to see if the game exists. If it doesn't, it would have just, you know, went to the low settings by default. If it's true, if the file does exist, it's going to load the game, and we're going to cast to the save file, get that information where we could see the low, medium, high, and epic. And if it's low, it will fire these settings. If whatever was saved was on medium, we would just connect it here, and it'll fire these settings. Basically what I have here. I can actually delete this now. Yeah, so this is low, medium, high, and epic. And basically wherever those are, it's just going to fire each one like that. Now I'll go over how this information gets saved. So when the player first starts the game, you know, have this by default. If the file doesn't exist, just fires the low settings. At the end, it's going to create a save game object, and you just hit create save game, and they'll pop up. And then you would actually, your save game class is the one we created, which is here. And then I would just do save graphics, and then you would use the same variable you created there and hit set. So that's just right there. And then you're gonna cast always forget how sometimes you have to actually pull from the return value and make sure context sensitive is checked to get the cast nodes. So here we have it. But let me change something here because that's not right. So if we get let me spread this out so it makes a little more sense. Okay. So it's just the same variable that we used here, this save game subclass. Okay, and now this is where the enum comes into play. So when we pull from here, I'm going to do set, and that's graphics S. And that's the setting it's going to set it to based on when they press 1. Okay. And then save game slot. And the slot name, yeah, file name, graphics, which is graphics setting. And then we'll just plug this getter into there. I don't know if that's a word, getter. And that's it, yeah. Okay, so copy that down if you need. Okay. So when they press 1 or the game first starts if the player plays it for the first time, this is what's happening. It's creating a save game using this save game blueprint. We're going to cast to that file, and we're going to set that file with this information low, which essentially when the game loads again, it'll find that information and load low. can't really see it there. False. Okay. So if it exists, the file exists, true, load the game, cast to that file, and based on what we set here, if they hit 1 or they start the game for the first time, it's going to have the information of low, which is the first enumerator here, and then it'll just fire that. And again, you just take this same information, and it's a drop down because we created it here, and set that to medium when the player presses 2, and once again it's going to just repeat itself and fire the next setting here for medium, and so on. We have high. I just hit high, and there's epic. Okay, I guess that's it. If you have any questions, please do ask in the comments section. I'll try to help as much as possible. I'm not a programmer. I've read about programming. I understand the concepts, but I wouldn't say I'm a programmer. So I'll do the best I can, and I hope this first tutorial wasn't too treacherous for you. Wasn't sure what I was doing. So, but stay tuned. I will show you another tutorial on how to save like the player's progress, basically going from level to level, and when you load the game, making sure the player starts at the next level. Alright, thank you, and I'll see you next time.